What's the background? What is the significance of the background? It's just
There is no significance. Oh, the significance is that you should take online courses, especially when they're free during the COVID period, because this is something
oh,
I learned from an online course that I took. It was how to create patterns on Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator.
okay.
So this is what I made.
That's
Yeah,
that's pretty
it was
cool. I
it
mean,
was yeah, it
makes
was
me feel
actually
hungry as well.
made right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and like healthy
have
because like
pizza.
citrus.
Oh, it's
Okay,
citrus, but I feel
it's
like
yeah, it
I
looks
feel
like
like
pizza. That's
mushrooms,
great.
So
That's great, man. However you interpret it.
In this new series, you get to hear stories from artists, content creators, and pick their brains on all things digital. So tune in for some fun, fresh perspectives from the online world on how to Ekla Solo Ray.
hey guys, welcome to another episode of Eklas Process. Uh, Today's guest is another content creator, a friend of mine, Swifty. So she will come and speak more about her experiences as an illustrator, working on the social media side of things, also working on a lot of different technologies to create her content. And we'll also share some more technical aspects of how to go about creating those things in these with these tools and technologies, and hopefully that's something that is interesting to you guys. So without much ado, I would welcome Srishti to come and speak with us on this. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
You want to give us an introduction to what you're doing exactly, like what is your background and
Yeah. So currently my background, I think is citrus fruits, but Ayan thinks is mushroom. Uh, just kidding. Okay.
yeah.
Now that I'm done with my lame joke. So I am a lettering artist and a doodler. So what is lettering? Lettering is, in the simplest form, it's the art of drawing letters. And people sometimes confuse it with calligraphy, which is the art of writing letters. So it's different, but people tend to club it together. It's used together sometimes, but they're two different things. So I started getting into lettering around 2 years back. I started getting interested in it then, actually 3 years back. So what happened was a friend from college, his sister is a calligrapher and she uses watercolors and stuff. So he shared her profile on Instagram and I checked her out and I was like, oh my God, what are these amazing things that she's making? It looked so good. And I was like, shit, how do you make that?
Okay.
And then I saw this one piece where she used some markers and the markers had like a thin stroke at some places and a thick stroke at some places. And I was like, shit, what is this magical thing she's using? So I got in touch and I was like, hey, I love your work. Like what tools are you using and stuff? And then she told me the markers and then I got the markers. This is 3 years back.
Okay.
So that's when I started getting into doing this. I wasn't so much into lettering back then, but I was getting interested in this thing that existed. And then they are like, to people who don't know what lettering is or what lettering artists are, they probably haven't been exposed to the world of lettering artists on Instagram. There are so many, and there's like the lettering community is huge on Instagram, especially. So then I started seeing more artists and started getting more inspired. And then about a year later, I was like, hey, this is something I'm really into, and I think I should do something and make something out of it.
Okay.
So that's when I started getting deeper into it. So that, and in
Primarily
lettering, like where,
yeah. So
oh,
you're
like
primarily
where
into lettering, or are you also doodling as well? So
I'm doodling as well.
okay,
So I call it doodling and not illustration because um, like I don't think what I draw is good enough to be called illustration. So it's just like random shit that I draw around my lettering and stuff like that. So I call it doodling. And where lettering can be used, anywhere where there are letters. So like magazine covers, social media posts, stickers, signage, um, logos, book covers, wall art. Any place that needs or has letters is where you can use lettering. Yeah.
okay, yeah. Recently I stumbled upon I don't know, it's a pretty popular Instagram handle, Akshar Pathak. He's like an Indian.
Oh my
Uh,
God, I love him so much. Like his humor is, I'm like, oh my, I need to meet this guy, like, and spend time with him because I love his posts so
yeah.
much. Yeah.
So
Sorry,
he,
go on.
he he does a lot of like, I mean, he's basically just posting funny things usually. But then I realized like he's actually a graphic designer or some sort of a arts director. He's working with what's the name? It's a
Zomato.
Zomato. He works at Zomato, and then if you see all his posts, it's so well designed. And I don't know, like, how much of that is to do with, like, is it a different domain altogether, like graphic designing, and it's totally different from what you do in lettering, or
Yeah.
is there
So
overlap as well?
it's different because in graphic design, you are working with fonts that already exist, like letter forms which exist already. So graphic design is, or typography, not graphic design, typography is more to do with existing fonts which you place together and see how they work with each other. Lettering is where you create the font. I wouldn't call it font, but you create the letters, you draw them from start.
Okay.
So what he does, I haven't seen, like, I don't know if he has a separate page for like his design, graphic designs and stuff, but I've seen his post and it's
I mean,
so,
it's pretty
like, it
evident
looks
from
very
his-
uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you use red and black and it's very, very nice. Like, it's nice to look at. So that, I actually never thought about it in this way, like what you just said, in like the art related way, in the visual art. But if I were to put it in one of the buckets, I would put it under typography. Because he's using like pre-existing fonts, right, to like place them together. But design as well, like there's always an element of design in everything. So yeah, but I wouldn't call it lettering.
I mean, so actually that brings us to what tool are you actually using? Because like I was also dabbling a bit on, like, creating some sort of logo for the podcast, and then I actually used Canva because I've heard so much good things. But now that I think of it, and when you mentioned, because I think Canva is still predominantly you're using fonts that pre-exist, and you're using making use of different things, different permutation combinations, and creating that little piece. But with the technology that you're using, and with, like, creating your own fonts, as you said, what is it exactly, and what goes behind the scenes? Like, maybe you can share that.
So what I use is Procreate. It's an app called Procreate on my iPad. It's it costs 10 USD, I think, and it's a one-time payment.
Okay.
And what it offers, like what the app offers, 10 USD for that is bloody amazing. Like, this app is magical, and I don't even know half the functions of it yet. Like, I haven't used them, but it's so good. Like, it's so good. And the iPad paired with the Procreate app and the Apple Pencil is like this magical toolkit that you have. I feel like you can do anything with that. So what I use for digital work is that, and if not, I use pencil and paper, but most of the work I do is digital, so it's on my iPad, and the only app I use is Procreate.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm going to talk about the app I use for my work, which is called Procreate. It's this one right here. You can get it on the Apple Store for about 10 USD, and it's at a great price for what it offers, really. So let me show you what the app looks like. So when you open it, this is what you would see. It's all your previously created artwork. And you can create stacks from the app, which are like folders. So I'll open the one I created for this. Now on the top right, you'll see a plus sign, which is to create a new canvas. So when you click this, you'll see several options, which you can use to decide the size of your canvas. Now, Procreate has some pre-created ones, and you can also create your own and save them. So I have some like Instagram portrait, Instagram landscape. These are some I use often. So I've saved them. I also have like phone wallpaper and Instagram story and stuff like that. So what we'll use today is just screen size, which is there by default. So that's this one, the one on top. So this is the screen size canvas. Now I'll go through some of the basic tools and gestures of the app. So let's start off with this toolbar kind of thing on top. So it has actions, adjustments, the selection tool, and transform. And on the right side there is paint, smudge, and erase. So in Paint, there are all these brushes that Procreate provides. There are so many of them, and you can use them for different things like sketching, calligraphy, drawing, different textures, a lot of stuff. And these come with the app. And the cool thing is that you can use smudge and erase with the same brush type. And then beside that, there is the layers panel. So this basically has all of your layers for your current canvas. You can click the plus on the top right to create a new layer, like that, and you just swipe left and delete for whichever layers you don't need. And then lastly, there is the colors panel. So you can select whichever color you want to use from the color wheel, and they also have palettes where you can create your own or download pre-made palettes from the net. And this is helpful especially when you're working with a particular color theme, so you don't have to keep finding the colors again and again. You can just pick from the palette and use them. There are some more brush settings on the left. So on top we have the brush size. It's a large brush size and a small brush size. And at the bottom we have brush opacity. So with a small size, it'll look like this, and with a large size, like this. And with low opacity, so more translucent, and high opacity, when it's more opaque, it'll look like this. The two buttons at the bottom are to undo and redo. Redo, undo. And if you want to clear your current layer, just go to the layer settings, select the layer that you're working on, and then select clear, and it's clear. There are a lot of gestures that you can use on Procreate, but I'm going to talk about the 3 that I use the most. So the first one is undo. And to undo on Procreate, the gesture is a 2-finger tap. So you just take 2 fingers and tap on your iPad. So every time you tap, it'll undo your last action. The second gesture is redo. So for redo, it's a 3-finger tap. So I'm going to undo a bit, and now I'll redo. So I just use 3 fingers and I tap. So for undo, it's a 2-finger tap, and for redo, it's a 3-finger tap. And the third gesture I'm going to talk about is clear layer. So I've shown you how to do this from the layers panel, but to do it as a gesture, you take 3 fingers and move them in a circular motion on the iPad. So there, like that. It's like you're scrubbing the screen. So just a small little scrub. Take 3 fingers and scrub on the screen. Oops. Yeah, so that's clear. There are a few styluses you can use for Procreate on your iPad, but I use the Apple Pencil, so that's the one I'm going to talk about. Now, what's great about using the Apple Pencil with Procreate is that the brushes on this app are made to respond to the Apple Pencil's pressure and tilt. So let me show you what I mean. For the pressure, when you put light pressure while drawing something, it'll be a thin stroke, and when you put a bit more pressure, it'll be a thick stroke. So a thin stroke when there's light pressure, and when there's a bit of a harder pressure, it'll be a thick stroke. Now, you can change these in the brush settings. So not all brushes would respond like that, but you can change the settings so that they would, or they could respond like that. I'm just going to clear the layer, and I'll talk about the tilt. So I'm going to select a different brush, maybe 6B pencil, and I'll show you what I mean by the tilt. So if I'm holding the pencil at around a 90-degree angle, this is what the lines would look like. And if I'm holding it at a smaller angle, like maybe 20-30 degrees, it'll look like this. It'll be like I'm shading. So I can practically shade with the same brush while also using it like that. So this was a bit about the tools and the gestures of this amazing app.
So yeah, Swifty, like just to give us some more perspective, like what exactly is like lettering, like in terms of its use cases? Where do you see it being used in the sense, like of course as something that you would like to do on the side as a hobby, it's fine, but then how do you actually use this skill to be monetized and to actually be used in different aspects uh, of any sort of commercial business, right?
So with lettering, why? So initially when I started off, and I was thinking that why would someone go for lettering over graphic design? Because there are so many companies, agencies, ad agencies, and stuff like that, which have in-house designers, have an in-house creative team. So why would you go out and choose get another person's services when you're already paying your full-time employees?
Mhm.
And then I started researching about it, like why and stuff like that. And a lot of articles said that because graphic designers use pre-existing fonts, and now, especially now more than ever, that brands are looking for a more one,
Something
they
that's
want to be
not
more unique.
standardized.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
want to be more unique, they want to stand out, and they want to have a more of a human-ish effect. Like maybe this is not for all brands, maybe some brands, but some definitely don't want everything to be so perfect. They want a bit of imperfection, which you can really get from lettering. So I think that's one reason why lettering is becoming really popular now.
Yeah.
And like the more I hear about it, the more I see it, I'm like, shit, this is actually getting really popular. Because even now I'm sometimes like, I'm like, but can't a graphic designer do this?
Mm.
Like can't they mimic a lettering piece with their tools?
Mm.
Which I'm guessing they can, but there's still that imperfection, which lettering has, which
Yeah.
might probably not be seen in a perfect piece. So
Yeah.
that's one reason why I think people, like brands, business owners, everyone, are more open to lettering now, which is great.
Okay. Okay. I mean, what is your process exactly like? How do you actually go about, uh, coming up with new ideas? Like, do you have like a place where you actually sit down and, have a bunch of ideas that you have worked on? Do you have different themes that you are using? How does it go usually?
So I have on my phone, in my notes, I have a list of ideas. The biggest problem with me is that, especially in the past few months, I've been consuming so much content, and
Yeah.
because of the situation right now, people have been posting more things, and more things have been happening online, right? So
Yeah.
there's more things to take in. I've been doing a lot of consuming and very little creating, which is very bad. That list of ideas just keeps increasing, just keeps becoming longer. But I am about to start a passion project. So what is a passion project? It's basically a project you do out of passion. So it's not client work. It's something you just do
Okay.
for your own, on your own. So
Yeah.
it can be like you can just start drawing plants, like every day you draw a plant, or every anything, like it could be anything. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
just one example, but yeah, like one of the artists I follow, her um like her journey with lettering started with a passion project called Daily Dishonesty, where she would letter things which, when you're sitting with your friends and you talk about something and it's like, I'll start going to the gym tomorrow,
Yeah.
which you say, but you probably won't do that tomorrow. So it's like, it's one of the things that, like, daily dishonesty, you're just bullshitting
Yeah.
yourself. So
Yeah.
things like that. And she made a lot of those, and she actually got a book deal out of it, which is great because this started off as a passion project,
Okay.
right? So I have a list of things to do, and the posts that I create right now, they could be based on what's happening around the world. They could be based on a random birthday post that I want to make for someone I know. It could be about there are these lettering challenges or lettering prompts that you get from artists and places where every week they'll give you like the same artist I'm talking about, the one I follow. She every week she sends out this email in her email newsletter, and it'll be talking about something like maybe letter something about how you want to letter something that you wish to achieve by the end of the year, or like letter something
Okay.
about what you think about perfection, or like things like that.
Yeah.
These were two very, I think, yeah, they have that. She has a lot, and she's been doing this for like 3 years or 2 years plus, so every week, which is like 100 weeks plus. So based on that, I would letter something, and and
Yeah, you
this
can
is
you can also
also
focus on a lot on anything that is very topical right now, like any sort of new fresh uh, things which is very popular in the news. So you can also focus on those kind of things, right? So actually, yeah, with that, like you have a lot of different ideas that you can actually use, like funnel down and then create something out of it. But at the end of the day, like how do you see this as something that you would put out in the market? Like, are you using Instagram primarily, or are also other ways like to put your content up?
So I'm using Instagram. That's the platform I use the most, and I have a website. But
Okay.
the app I use the most for this and just generally is Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, like your question on how I would monetize this. Um, I have and I will in like I would do client work, like
Yeah.
social media posts for them, or create cards. Like I had I had sold
Mm.
cards for Christmas and New Year's last year.
Okay.
And or custom made cards, like custom made orders, like custom made cards, or save the dates for weddings, or a coaster which I sold just this morning.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So
Congrats.
yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And it happened so naturally because I had posted um, a, a boomerang on Instagram with like the coaster was there, and it's here. I'll show it to you. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
It just has
Yeah.
an S on it because my name starts with S.
Okay.
And so it was just the boomerang of the coaster and a cup of green tea I was having, and I was just lifting the cup. So it was just a boomerang
Okay.
of that happening. Like, and I didn't do it as oh, I'm promoting my coaster, like, oh, buy this. It wasn't
Okay.
that. It was just a random like post
Okay.
on my story, and
Yeah.
this person got in touch with me. And like I know her where in Dubai, and she was like, oh, did you make this? Do you take orders? And I got so excited when she said, I was like, yes, I do. And then she told me she wants to get one made for her friend. And I was like, yeah, of course. So
Yeah.
she came to collect that just today. So yeah, it happened
Okay.
like that. And which is why like you should always put your work out. Um,
Yeah.
and obviously it doesn't always have to be like, oh, I'm selling this. Oh, let me sell this. Oh, all salesy.
Yeah.
But just generally, the more you put your work out, the more eyes will see it, and the higher your chances of it
And do you
landing with
see it
someone.
increasing the number of the attention? Do you see that increasing over? You said that you've been doing it for about 2 years now, and I've seen that. Like I've seen your recent work. So do you see a lot of traction from people you're not like not exactly like people you already know from before, or?
So the thing, like I have been doing this for 2 years, but my posting hasn't been consistent, which
Yeah.
is a bad thing for the people listening out there. Whatever
Yeah. That's
like stream you're in, whether it's creative, whatever, like you have to be consistent. And the worst thing is I know this, but I'm still not doing it completely, which is terrible of me. But
I
I'm
think it's a
starting
problem
to.
everywhere,
So
but yeah. I think
yeah.
you brought up a good point, because we should also discuss generally like how things would work with social media, like with Instagram. Yeah, I think you need to be very consistent with the kind of content that you roll out, and also you are you aware like there are certain times and periods when you're supposed to post, because those are probably the best times when you will get a lot of attention as well. No, or
So like if you have a business profile on Instagram, which I do,
oh, you have a business one.
um, yeah.
Okay.
So in that case, I don't know if this is for just for business, or I don't know if business and private profile and public profile are the same. I don't think they are. Anyway, so if
Yeah.
in that you can check your analytics, and it shows you what time of the day people interact with your post the most and shit like that. I
Okay.
won't rely on that 100%, but yeah, I mean if there's data, then yeah, use it. I mean I haven't been posting consistently, but obviously I have improved over time, and the better the content you put, it also depends on the hashtags you use and the people you tag. And like if you just post something without any hashtags, without anything written on it, without tagging anyone, the chances of people seeing it are obviously lower. And there are these lettering or design related aggregators on Instagram, so you
Yeah.
can tag them and they like share your like not they share everyone's posts, so it's like a curated profile with
Yeah.
lettering related or calligraphy related. So that's another way of getting more eyes on your work.
Is there a way like you can reach out to companies? Like I know like a lot of work you did. You were doing something with like delivery bags, if I'm not wrong. Like designing on
Yeah.
delivery bags.
Yeah.
So I mean those kind of things would be pretty fancy, right? If you could provide some custom designs on say a delivery bag for
Like
Grab
food packaging or
or
delivering.
Food Panda, something like that. So yeah, that's pretty fancy. And I know because I sometimes order meals from a particular restaurant, and they always have some custom made message for me. I mean, it's just scribbled
Hmm.
in their own handwriting, but if you
Yeah.
have something more fancy, maybe something with Procreate or something, so that would be, that's a nice touch to things. So yeah, is there a way you can actually reach out to these people? Like, are there
Of
online
course, always.
contracts or yeah?
I mean, that's what, right? Like one way to market your work is the aggregator thing that I said on Instagram, and put your work everywhere, wherever you can. Tell as many people as you can about what you do. Reach out to companies or small businesses, or like what you're saying, Deliveroo or whoever. And
Yeah.
so a lot of these companies already have agencies or have in-house creative teams, but they might still accept your work. I mean, companies do still accept freelancers' work, like lettering artists or whatever. So yeah, there is a chance, obviously, and
Mm.
people should, if that's something they want to do, they should get in touch. So in relation to the current pandemic, freelancers have been affected in a bad way.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
generally, also like this notion of freelancing, it isn't as rosy as it sounds. Like, oh yeah, wake up whenever, sleep whenever, work whenever, go for holiday whenever. It's so hard to, because when you're in a 9 to 5, when you're accountable to someone and you get your monthly paycheck, and
Yeah.
you know that you're going to get it by the end of the month, you know that you have to go to work, and you know that like you have
set
your
goals.
schedule.
Yeah.
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 With this, it's like, shit, you have to do everything, and if you start slacking, then that's it. That's like, at work you can slack on 1 day, 2 days, yeah, sure, you can take a day off, but with this you can take as many days off as you want, but there will be no money for it.
Yeah.
You have to keep working and putting yourself out. You have no company name behind you. You don't have that
Yeah.
known logo of that company on your business card. That's like, okay, people know this, they know they're accountable. You have to make a name for yourself. So in that sense, it's very hard. But of course, there are the rosy bits where you can just wake up whenever,
Yeah.
and you set your own schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you have to be disciplined enough. So
Okay.
yeah.
Anything you would like to tell someone who would like to take
Oh,
this up as a side thing? People would like to do this as a side project, like a passion project, as you said, or a lot of people are probably still very good at this, and maybe would take this up as a freelancing thing. So, any sort of advice for that?
yeah, okay, this advice isn't coming from a professional lettering artist's place, because that's not what I am. It's just generally someone who has explored this medium, that like, it doesn't have to be lettering, it can be anything. I thankfully have and have the luxury to leave my job and take time to explore and see what I like. And if anyone out there has that privilege and is okay with taking some time off, or just taking some time out of your normal schedule to explore what you like more than what you do, or what you like generally apart from what, yeah, like your job, I would highly recommend it. Because like in the past 2 years that I've not been working, I've realized so many things. And this is not just related to like art, because I'm doing art, just generally because I have distanced myself away from a job where I'm interacting with people every day, which I miss a lot. But I've gotten the time with myself to explore these things, and you get to know more things about yourself. So no matter what you're doing, just if you can, of course, I know everyone can't, and I mean, yeah, but if you can, then take some time out to see what else you like. Or if you love your job, then that's great. I mean, that's the dream, right? You're doing what you love and you're getting paid for it. But if there are other things, and I'm sure there are like other things that you might be interested in, you should take the time to explore and then do a bit more of that, like how you're doing this podcast. And I was so excited when you told me, and I was like, shit, why didn't you start earlier? Because COVID has been going on for a while, and like you would have gotten 2 more months, but you started now, and that's great. So like whatever it is, it can be something from like map making, like globe making, which is a very cool thing. I'll send you a profile. It's so cool. To art or anything, like, so I think you should explore.
That makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I would tell people. Another is specific to Instagram. Follow count doesn't matter as much as people think it does. your work needs to be good.
Yeah.
Follow count doesn't matter. And so this is a small example. This happened, I think, 2 weeks back. I posted this process video of mine on Instagram, which is me making a word collage, like a lettering collage on a brown paper bag. And I posted it, and then a few days later, my cousin sent me a picture of the exact thing that she had made. And I got so happy because I was like, oh my God, this is the first time someone
younger
has
than you,
seen
or-
something of mine. Yeah. She's 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
11, yeah. And
Oh,
I was
she's-
like, oh my God, like this is the first time someone has seen something that I made and then gotten inspired and made it and shared it with me. So I got very excited. And that's when, although this, I know her, it's someone I know, so maybe that's why there was a connection. But I was like,
it's
oh wow, like I
definitely
don't need to have like
a good
10,000
influence.
followers to teach someone something, because you can always learn something from someone. You can always teach something to someone. So you don't have to have like 10,000 or even
Definitely.
1,000 followers or even 15 to teach someone something.
I
Right?
mean, that should never
So
be the goal, right? So
it shouldn't. Yeah. But it is for a lot of people. But it shouldn't. So it doesn't matter. Like follow count doesn't matter as much as people think it does. And the last thing would be, again, this is for anything you do in life, that done is better than perfect. And this is a thing that goes around in the lettering community a lot, like in the artist community.
yeah,
That
I tell you, I mean, this is something exactly shared by Avi. I did a podcast last week with him on YouTubing, and I mean, everyone tells me the same thing, you know, like you don't need to be like perfect. And I think I get stuck on that because I have a OCD for things, and also like, you know, it's perfection is important sometimes, but yeah, it's probably not that key. So you're right.
I can totally empathize with you, because I have a problem of perfecting things, and I'm still learning this, that I don't need to make everything perfectly. Okay, when I say perfect, I'm not saying that my art is like whoa, like print it and sell it for millions. But I have so many times I've spent like close to an hour or maybe even more just to fix one little part, which doesn't matter at all. And for client work, it's different, because client work, yes, it has to be of like very good quality. But for stuff you're doing maybe for yourself or posting on Instagram, whatever, it doesn't have to be so perfect. And a lot of times this,
I mean, it's probably only you who notices these things.
Exactly. And it can affect your productivity as well. And like it's probably you or like 2 in 10 people who notice it. Even if everyone notices it, it's fine. You can improve it the next time you make the same piece or make a different piece after you learn. But you just have to create it and finish it and just move on to the next thing, because I'm saying this from experience. I've wasted so much time on this. And then later on, sometimes I do realize that shit, this was such a waste of time. Sometimes I don't. But don't do it. Like don't.
I mean, you have to look at the overall full picture. So I mean, if you look at other people's work online, right? I mean, you might see something which looks a bit off, but then you don't get stuck on that. So I think that's the approach you probably need to take on your
In this video,
self as well.
I'll quickly go through my process for creating this lettering piece. So I'll go to a different canvas by clicking gallery on the top left, and I'll select a different canvas. Alright, so I start off with writing the phrase I want to letter, which for this piece is just freaking do it. I'll just move this to the side so you can see better. And after that, I'll add composition grids, and I'll add the phrase onto these grids, so I get a better idea of how the final piece would look like. And then after I've decided which one I want to go with, I hide the rest and I enlarge the one I chose. Now I can hide the phrase because I don't need it anymore on the top. And I reduce the opacity of the basic sketch of my phrase. So whatever I draw on top of this, I can see clearly. Now I add better formed grids to this. So these are by Ian Bernard and Stephen Kuhn. I bought them online. And then I add the words of the phrase on top of these grids. Now I can hide the sketch, and I want to add some weight to these letters to make them a little chunky. And once I'm happy with the word placement, I can hide the grid. Now I'll add some color and some embellishments. So for this piece, I decided to go with inlines, which are these lines inside of the letters. This was the first one I made, and I wanted to do something different. So I went with what I made next, which was this. Now the last step is to add doodles around the piece. And I wanted these doodles to pop out. So I added a shadow layer, like a shadow of the doodles. So that's what it looks like. And that's how I created this piece. Now to export this, I go to Actions on the toolbar. I select Share, and there are several formats which I can export this file in. So I'm just going to go with PNG. And then again, there are several options on what I can do with this exported file. I'm just going to save the image. And there we have it. That was a quick rundown on my process for lettering a lot of my pieces. If you're looking for something more detailed, you can head to my Instagram profile. I go by @by.srishtibangar. That's by dot as in full stop SRISHTIBANGAR. Or you can drop me a message there, and I will help you with whatever queries you have about lettering. Yep. Thank you.
So what's next? Like now, I mean, I'm gonna also put in the part where you can share your process on this as well. So where do you actually see this going? Like in the next, I don't know. That's probably a very difficult question to answer. But then, like, do you have like a 6 months plan to actually scale this up?
I haven't put a number of years to this, like when I want it, but maybe in like 5 years. I think that's, I don't know if that's too much or too less, but in some years I would want like my own studio. What I mean by that, okay, that studio could just mean like a room with like a lot of my art supplies and stuff. Like I want a room just to myself, which I have now, but a room which is just dedicated to art, like a separate room in my house which is just for art, with my art supplies and all this. You know, when I was younger, have you heard of the show Art Attack?
Art
Do
Attack?
you know this
No.
show called Art Attack? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so it used to come on TV, and this was when I was very young, like
Which
maybe
channel?
6, 7. Disney, I think. I don't know.
It sounds
I think
familiar,
it was
but
Disney.
maybe it's a good pun though. Art
Yeah.
Attack.
And yeah, this was when I was in kindergarten, I think 5, 6, 7, around that age. And I used to watch this show every day. So it's this guy, Neil Buchanan, I think, who makes things. Okay. And he had a whole studio. And this wasn't a room. It was a huge space with like huge art objects. And he had all the paint in the world and all the like papers and markers and everything. I used to see that and I was like, oh my God, this is my dream life. I want to live in that room of his. I was telling my mom, I used to tell my mom, I was like, I want that. And I'm still like that. I want that. Like if I see paint, a lot of paint, I get so excited. I feel like I want to eat it in a completely healthy way. Like I get so excited. Something happens to me. I get so excited with like stationery and all this. So I want to have my own studio. But even if I don't have that, like more in the work related sense, one of my dreams is to and this probably won't take 5 years, hopefully less than that. Like I walk out like into a shop or something and I see my design, my work on a product or on someone's wall, and that'll get me really excited. The aim is just well, that's like in the sales, like in the money making sort of way, that is my aim, one of my dreams. Apart from that, my general dream or goal is to create work that evokes a positive response, a positive emotion in people, and not like someone sees it and has an epiphany about something, like not that profound, but I mean it could be, which is great, but just something which it could make you smile or it could make you do something good for someone with like a tinge of nostalgia, because I feel like nostalgia really helps to connect with people. So yeah, it's a generic answer. Like I want to do good work, but I want to do impactful work which will like either make you happy from inside or like make you do something for someone. You know, that kind of thing.
Well, I think you're on the right track, because I hope you be more consistent with your posts, and then also with generally creating work, maybe not just for social media but anywhere. So, and yeah.
I want to ask you, like how you asked me where I see my art going. Where do you see your podcast going?
Oh wow! So
Like,
I
okay, no,
wasn't
tell
ready
me
for
first,
that.
what
Yeah,
what
but
made you start this? Like, why a podcast and not like maybe a blog or something?
I think a lot of jobs will be probably be taken over by AI, and that's very sort of a generic statement that I made. Like, actually, it's not true, because there might be a lot of more higher skill jobs which might require human effort. But yeah,
Hmm.
if the way we do things would change in the next 20-30 years. So arts and creative things is actually not just restricted to your arts, like creating work online or painting. It's also to do with, like, research work, any sort of soft skills that you can build. So the idea is to actually use work on those, because those things are something which will be very much in demand later on in 20-30 years, when you don't need people to create reports, because you just click a button and then a report is generated. So yeah, focusing on artworks, and I was thinking of ways to actually get people to share their skill sets with other people. So sort of create a collaboration culture, having a little space of that. And I think with this, at least, uh, I'm trying to get the podcast as a way to actually reach out to people who are doing their good work, and get their work highlighted, and also that's maybe useful for other people to actually pick some skills from. So, I mean, it's not necessary that someone who wants to be a doodler would be interested in this, but even someone, maybe, yeah, just a graphic designer or someone from a different space, just to have a little more understanding on how to work with these things, apart from a job, or just channelizing your inner creativity in a way. So I think that's the idea behind this. And let's see, I don't have a long term plan yet, uh, taking it one step at a time. Right now, the idea is to actually get 5 people on this podcast, and then put it up. So yeah, we'll see from there how it takes up, and what's the response like. We'll see.
That's good. I'm very happy. Like, I'm always a supporter of anyone doing one, that's something that they're interested in, and two, something outside of their job. So that's great, and I hope this works out for the long run.
Yeah, thanks. Uh, yeah, so thanks for sharing so many different things about what you're doing. And I know we'll have a video. I mean, we probably have the video at some place of this interview already. I mean, I've placed it. So yeah, good to know those technical skills as well. And maybe hopefully we can collaborate soon on something, like creating any artwork, and hopefully you can people reach out to you through this and get to know the work that you're doing. So thanks.
Thank you. I just want to say this is, um, well, firstly, thank you for thinking of me to get on your podcast. I honestly really appreciate it. Um, Also, this is my first podcast in my life, so it's so exciting. I don't know if
It's my
it's showing,
third.
but
Yeah,
you have a little more experience there than me.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited. So thank you. Nice of you to do this.
Yeah, yeah, thanks a lot.